Hello, my name is Dale Harley, President of Harley House Consultants. Welcome to my 10-minute tutorial on developing communication strategies in support of change initiatives. Let's start off by defining three interrelated change concepts. A change initiative is the act of altering something significant within an organization, requiring an internal transition. This could include consolidating organizations, moving to new offices, launching new programs or services, updating software, or changing procedures. Change management is a comprehensive, cyclical, and structured approach to prepare, support, and help individuals, teams, and organizations transition from a current state to a future state with intended results and outcomes. Finally, change communications, which is the topic of today's tutorial, is the support of the internal transition through measures to increase awareness, understanding, and support. One very helpful way of understanding the process of change is a change curve. This curve is derived from the theory of how people cope with death and bereavement. All change involves the elements of letting go of the past and engaging with a different future as an individual or a group moves through the 7 stages of the curve. Managing change is difficult. It's hard to change the way you work and modify familiar processes to suit the new needs and goals. Change can only be productive if the transition is successful. And to be successful, change communications needs to be properly integrated into the change initiative right at the outset. There are many models for managing change, and for this particular tutorial, I've chosen to adopt Kurt Lewin's 3-stage model of unfreeze, change, and refreeze. Stage 1 of Mr. Lewin's model recognizes that the collective mindsets and practices of a group must be broken down before change can occur. During the unfreeze stage, the organization must clearly define the current situation. And the more collaborative this process can be, the more effective it is. 2, create a vision of the desired end state. Again, the richer, the fuller, and the more attractive this can be, the better. And finally, identify the sources that will help drive and resist the change. You must increase the driving forces identified and decrease the resisting forces. As a result, inertia is overcome and existing habits and mindsets are broken down. The change stage is a period of much confusion, challenge, and clarification. The organization must follow a plan to implement the intended changes, involve people, and maintain a safe learning environment allowing experimentation. And finally, provide great role models who people can identify with. It is in the final stage of Mr. Lewin's model that new work practices become new work habits and new ways of thinking become the conventional wisdom. When preparing a communication strategy in support of a change initiative, we recommend the use of a communication strategy logic model. Typically, when someone is tasked to draft a communication strategy, their first reaction is to go to the computer, call up their last plan, and start updating the information. While this approach may be easiest, it rarely results in the most effective strategy. Strategies start taking on the same old look, and opportunities for innovation and creativity are lost. At Harley House, we recommend that you start off with a blank sheet and sketch out an overview of your strategy by answering the following 4 questions. Where are we now? Where do we want to be? How will we get there? And how will we know if we're getting there? Let's look at the first question. Where are we now? Who are the key external and internal stakeholders involved in this change initiative, and what are their positions, stances, or roles? Typically, change initiatives are focused on clients and employees. We recommend that you also examine media, community, government, and investor-partner relationships. Who will benefit from positive results derived from the project and the successful communications of it? How will they benefit? And what are the key forces, difficulties, and hurdles that could drive and impair change? Now that you know where you are, it's time to answer the question, where do you want to be? It is critical that you are aware of what the change initiative is trying to accomplish so that you can develop a communication strategy that supports these broader objectives. You will require unique communications objectives for each stage of your change initiative. During the unfreeze stage, you want to draw attention to the need for change and build interest in the change by identifying the forces that will drive and resist change. During the change stage, you want to create desire by giving people opportunities to become involved in the change. Finally, in the refreeze stage, you ensure action by celebrating and consolidating participation in the change. It is important to remember that whatever stage you're at, your objectives should be SMART: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. The following are examples of SMART objectives for each stage of the change process. Make sure each objective is specific in terms of what you want to accomplish and with who, i.e., increase awareness amongst employees. Measurable in terms of how successful change will be demonstrated, i.e., increase awareness from X to Y%. Achievable rates to having a reasonable chance of success. Don't set yourself up for failure by expecting that you'll achieve 100% participation. Make sure that whatever you are doing is relevant by linking back to the change program objectives. And finally, your objectives must be timely. Make sure you have accomplished your unfreeze objectives before you move on to your change stage objectives. A lot of time and effort goes into answering the question, how will we get there? Remember, communications is a two-way flow of information. It involves information in and information out. At the same time, you also have one-way and two-way communications. In the following two slides, we explore both engagement and communications approaches that should be considered for the communication strategy in each stage of the change initiative. From an engagement approach perspective, the unfreeze stage is about understanding people and quickly getting a finger on the pulse. You require insights that you can work with to create a sense of urgency. To aid in understanding of change, people must have the opportunity to ask questions and have these answered in a way that is credible. You must make it easy for people to become and stay involved. You need to solicit input and provide feedback. Finally, in the refreeze stage, active engagement should be encouraged through more participatory two-way forums such as workshops and celebrations. From a communications approach perspective, at the unfreeze stage, use a one-way info-out approach to get information to people quickly. Provide more specific information that is relevant, focused on benefits, and how it helps. Use two-way forms of communications to encourage questions and have these questions answered. Be clear about where people can find more information and how they can become more involved. Ongoing two-way forms of communications are critical. At the refreeze stage, people are committed to taking action. They should be asked to play an active role in making change happen, highlight the positive outcomes, and consolidate gains. So updating our model, there will be distinct engagement and communications activities undertaken during each of the three stages of the change initiative. These include listening, informing, and consulting activities. So how will we know if we are getting there? The simple answer to this final question is continuous measurement. You must track successes and milestones at all three stages, measure the level of inclusiveness and involvement from start to finish, continually evaluate effectiveness. Rarely is there a straight line to the finish. Learn and correct along the way. Finally, track the commitment to sustain communications. Communications must be integrated into the overall change plan and properly executed. There are several tools that can be used to measure intended impacts and effects throughout the change initiative. These include output tracking. Did we produce the listening, informing, and consulting activities that we planned to produce? Public opinion research tools such as snapshot surveys, pulse surveys, focus groups, and in-depth interviews measure awareness, understanding, and support. Monitoring and analyzing both social media and traditional media to track what people are saying about our change initiative and conduct secondary data analysis to track participation, take-up, and adoption rates. So in review, we started out by defining what we mean by change in terms of change initiatives, change management, and change communications. We illustrated how Kurt Lewin's three-stage model is linked to the 7 elements of the change curve. And finally, we demonstrated how to build a communication strategy logic model by answering the following 4 questions. Where are we now? Where do we want to be? How will we get there? And how will we know if we are getting there? This has been a primer for our one-day training program on communications and engagement strategies for change management initiatives. For a free copy of this PowerPoint presentation, please contact me at dale@harleyhouse.com or call me at 613-882-5684. Thank you for watching our Communication Strategies tutorial.